I don't care that my children want nothing to do with their father. The first time I heard the words, they didn't come from my children's mouths, they came from mine. And they tasted like poison. I don't care that my children don't want much to do with their father. I said it softly, almost carelessly, as if the words weren't heavy enough to crush a lifetime of promises. Yet, deep inside, I knew they carried the weight of betrayal not only against him, but against myself, against the vows I once made, against the idea of a family that could have been whole. For years, I had watched the distance between my children and their father grow wider, like a crack spreading across glass. It began with small things: missed birthdays, broken promises, nights when he chose work or distraction over being present. At first, I defended him. I told the children, he loves you. He's just busy. He'll make it up to you. But time proved me wrong. Children notice everything. They notice when someone looks at them with half interest. They notice when laughter doesn't reach the eyes. They notice when hugs feel rushed, when conversations are shallow, when love is performed instead of lived. And my children noticed. They stopped asking him to come to their school events. They stopped waiting by the window when he said he'd visit. They stopped mentioning him at all. At first, he pretended not to notice. Then, when he finally did, he blamed me. You've turned them against me, he spat one evening, his face red with anger. You poisoned them. But he never asked the real question: why had his children grown tired of seeking affection where none was given? That night, when the house was quiet and the children were asleep, I whispered the words that felt both liberating and damning. I don't care that they don't want much to do with him. Because it was true. I didn't care anymore. What terrified me wasn't their rejection of him, it was how easy it was for me to accept it. His absence had carved such deep wounds in me over the years that I had nothing left to defend him with. No more excuses, no more fragile hope. I had learned to let the silence between him and the children speak for itself. And yet betrayal has layers. By not caring, by surrendering, wasn't I betraying them too? My children deserved a father who fought for them and a mother who fought for that bond to survive. But I had grown tired, too tired of being the bridge between two worlds when he never bothered to cross. My indifference was its own kind of betrayal. A betrayal wrapped not in lies or deceit, but in resignation. The children sensed it, too. One day, my oldest looked at me with eyes too wise for her age and asked, "You're not upset that we don't want to see him much, are you?" I froze. Her voice was calm, almost casual, but underneath it was something fragile, like she was testing me. And I told her the truth: no, I'm not upset. The moment the words left my lips, I saw something change in her. Relief, yes, but also confirmation. Confirmation that she was right to pull away, that her instincts were valid. And in giving her that confirmation, I wondered, was I protecting her, or was I letting betrayal sink even deeper into the bones of our family? Because betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet surrender. Sometimes it's the moment you stop fighting. And I had stopped. Continuation, when indifference becomes betrayal. The night I admitted I didn't care was the night something inside me snapped. For years, I had been the peacekeeper, the bridge, the one who filled in the gaps he left behind. I reminded him of birthdays, nudged him to attend school plays, urged him to call when he was away for too long. I had done everything to preserve the illusion of a father my children could count on. But illusions are fragile, and mine finally shattered. At first, I thought my indifference was a kind of protection for myself, for the children. If I stopped caring, then maybe I would stop hurting. If I accepted their distance from him, then maybe the weight of disappointment would lift from my shoulders. But betrayal doesn't only happen between lovers or friends, it happens within families, within the silent cracks where love should be. And as days turned into weeks, I realized my indifference had consequences. The children grew bolder in their distance. My son, who once shyly asked if his father would come to his football games, stopped mentioning sports altogether. My daughter, who used to slip drawings into her father's bag hoping he'd notice, no longer picked up her pencils. They were teaching themselves how to live without him, brick by brick, wall by wall. One evening, he finally noticed. We sat at the dinner table, me, the children and him for once. He had decided to make an effort, though his phone buzzed constantly in his pocket. Halfway through the meal, my daughter excused herself, muttering that she had homework. My son stayed silent, pushing food around his plate. "Why are they acting like this?" he asked me sharply when the kids left the table. His tone was accusatory. His eyes narrowed. "Like what?" I asked, though I knew exactly what he meant. Cold. Detached. "They barely look at me." His voice grew louder, frustration spilling into anger. "What have you been telling them?" I almost laughed bitterly. "What haven't you been telling them?" He slammed his fork down, rattling the plates. "So it's my fault now. They're my kids too. I've been working for them, for this family. And you." I cut him off. My voice was quiet, but it carried years of exhaustion. "They stopped waiting for you. That's not my doing. That's yours." His face hardened. "And you don't even care, do you?" The truth slipped out before I could stop it. "No, I don't." The words echoed in the silence that followed, heavy and final. His eyes widened not with guilt, but with disbelief, maybe even betrayal. To him, my indifference was worse than anger. Anger meant I still expected something from him. Indifference meant I had given up. He stormed out that night, leaving the door slamming behind him. The children didn't ask where he went. They didn't even look up from what they were doing. And in their silence, I felt a strange mix of sorrow and relief. But the relief was poisoned, because deep down I knew my indifference had betrayed them too. A mother is supposed to fight for her children, to protect not only their bodies but their hearts. And by surrendering, by saying I didn't care, I had abandoned that fight. Weeks later, he tried again. Guilt, desperation, maybe even love driving him back. He brought gifts, expensive ones, as if toys and gadgets could fill the void left by years of absence. The children accepted them politely but without warmth. They said thank you, but their eyes didn't light up. And I stood there watching, realizing the truth: you cannot buy back time. You cannot purchase trust. That night, he turned to me. His voice was softer, almost broken. "They don't love me anymore." I wanted to say, "They do. They're just hurt." But I couldn't lie. I simply looked at him and said nothing. And in that silence, I betrayed him once more. Because the truth was, I didn't want to fix it anymore. I didn't want to mend what he had let break. I didn't want to be the bridge. My indifference wasn't just acceptance, it was a choice. A choice to stop fighting for someone who had never fought for us. The children grew older, wiser, and more distant from him. And I watched it all unfold without lifting a hand to stop it. Each day, my silence said what my words could not. I don't care anymore. And that, more than his neglect, more than their rejection, was the real betrayal.